Hey everyone, today we're going to be making some clay tags which you can use anywhere around the house and for gifts and just for general ornaments. Keep watching to see how I get on. I try 2 different ways of glazing. Like and subscribe so that I can make some more videos to give you the content that you need. So what we'll need today, so we'll have the air drying clay, we've got the slip to stick things together, small pieces together, we've got a rolling pin, we've got some tools to help shape, we've got the cutter, the knife, the sharp knife, we've got these little cutters which make a hole, I'll show you those in a sec, we've got some letter stamps and we've got some shape cutters, and that's all we need just to get started. Afterwards, I'll show you what we'll need to decorate. Okay, what I did forget to mention was just to put some parchment paper down, and I've just masking taped it down, and that just stops the clay sticking to your board when you're actually going to, when you come to remove the clay piece that you've cut out. So this will help. Okay, I am going to remove my rings because I don't want clay to stick to them. Got a nice chunk of clay there, and we want to just going to use a small amount. Got a nice chunk of clay there, and we want to just going to use a small amount first and just give it a good old kneading, just to make sure it's nice and soft. So I don't have any rubber bands to put around my ends to keep your clay flat. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use lolly sticks, a little stack of lolly sticks on either side. Of course, these are just crafting sticks, but of course you can use anything that's going to give you the sort of depth that you're looking for. I'm sort of going for, I think, that sort of thickness. So I'm going to put 3 either side, like that. And hopefully, as I roll out my clay, and as I get to that sort of depth, it won't go further than those lolly sticks. And all I'm going to do is adjust my clay a little bit so I get a nice even and smooth surface for my clay, and it's getting to a nice depth. It's not going to get any thinner than where I want it, so I'm actually liking that. You know, again, you can adjust it if you want to make it thinner than that. You can then take a lolly stick away, so that's another way. You know, I'm just trying to think of other things you could use. You know, it could be a couple of rulers, it could be a couple of thin books that you don't mind, you know, if they get a little bit of clay on them or whatever. Yeah, just use your imagination, but anything that's going to give you an even depth. So if I show you my clay, and see, it stopped it from sticking as well, so that's my depth, that's the sort of depth I'm going for. So there we go, so it's nice and smooth. I'll just give it one more little smooth out. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, move these out of the way, so I won't need those now. What I'm going to do now is actually cut out, so using our lovely shapes. Now, I've got a good selection here. I'm not sure which one. I think let's just do a nice plain circle to start with, and then perhaps a flower. So I'm going to just place my circle and just press evenly, and the good thing is it cuts straight through, so there's no, you know, it doesn't leave any rough edges or anything, so that's nice and smooth. Oh, actually there are a little bit, and you can just sort of pat them around, I guess, but I'm really happy with this paper because it really does stop the clay from sticking. Okay, so we've got a nice circle there. I've just patted around those little rough edges, and we can sand those off when the clay dries as well. I'll also do a flower which This might be quite a nice little one. So we've got a flower. Get that one out as well. Carefully. There we go, just smooth away those rough edges. There we go. It's actually a good idea to have a little pot of water nearby, just so you can use wet fingers to mould your clay if needed. I haven't got one, but I would recommend having one handy. So let's just use up all the clay. I'm going to do one of each shape, I think, because I've got enough clay here to do that. So be careful when you press it out, and because of my nails I don't want to leave a mark. And you can always smooth over any marks you have while it's wet, which is great. The great thing with clay is that you can, once you've cut the shapes out, you can gather it all together and reuse the leftover clay. You know, I think that's the beauty of it, so nothing actually will go to waste. You can just re-roll it out and do it again. I guess that's what you would do with cookies and things, so why not? So now we've got our bits and pieces. I'm not going to roll any more. I think it's a nice little start to go with. Okay, so we've got our shapes here now. So we've got the star, got the sort of six-pointed star as well. We've got the circle, raindrop, flower, heart, and we've got some smaller little bits as well here. So the first thing I want to do is just cut a hole at the top of each. Just cut a hole into the clay where it will be hanging from. Okay, so we've got a nice hole there, and that will be ideal for when we hang the item. We'll keep the little button of clay there, because that could be used for a bit of decoration or something. Okay, so now that we've cut the holes out from where we're going to hang them, I just wanted to show you when I was talking about making the slip. So I get pieces about this sort of size, and this was just the leftover bits of clay, and I'll add it into my slip here that I've made. And look how nice and runny that is. But if I do want to thicken it, I'm just going to drop that in, and over time that will thicken up the slip. So I do want to thicken mine up, and that's why I'm dropping that one in now. And after giving it a little mix, that will start to thicken eventually. It's going to take a couple of hours, but that will start to create a nice little paste, which will help to glue things together. So you can see that's a nice thick bit at the bottom. It stays on my little spatula thing there. So that's how I do the slip, and that will help us if I wanted to now, for example, stick one of these to my flower, for example. So I might should I stick one on? Let's stick one of these little things on. If I flatten it down a little, I don't want it protruding too much. Let me just create a nice little flat piece like that, and then I'm going to use one of my larger cutters to get it into a nice shape. I don't want it too big, you see, to take up all the space. I'll use this cutter just to cut it into a nice round shape like that. I'm not going to be able to tap it out, so I'm going to have to use that just to push it gently. So we've got a nice flat thing here like that, and that can be the centre of my little daisy. So if I get my slip, oh, and also, sorry, just before I do glue it down, on the back of the item that you want to glue down, you just put a gentle few pock marks or score marks. Now mine is so small and fragile, but you know, hopefully yours will be a bit thicker than mine. And you literally just want to make a few little pock marks, and that will help the slip to have something to grab onto, if you know what I mean. And mine is so small, but and so flat that it is having a bit of an issue, so I'm just going to also make a few marks, like a little hash in the middle there, because that's where I'm going to put it. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of slip to my circle like that. Oh, that was terrible, but you know what, you're gathering what I mean, aren't you? So that will give it like that nice 3D sort of out shape. Okay, so you'll probably do a much better job than me, but there we go. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So that will take time to dry, obviously, but that will stick down nicely, and it will give you a nice little daisy or whatever you're making in your shape. So that's the use of the slip, and that's why it's good to have it, because that glues it down nicely and doesn't you know, it's not going to fall off. Right, so there's an example of sticking that down. The other thing I wanted to show you was the actual letters, remember, that I was discussing earlier on. Now these I got off Amazon, and I'm sure you can get them from other places as well, and I'm sure you can get other types of stamps, but these ones I really wanted to give them a go. So let's put a little heart just to start things off onto my raindrop there. So, and then I'm just going to gently press, and I don't want to go all the way through. Just want to go deep enough to leave a little indent, but not so deep that I go all the way through. Ah, and there we go. Look, that's a nice little heart shape there. And then we just want to go ahead and decorate our different shapes with whichever patterns or letters you like. So remember to do it back to front, because it's so easy to just forget and go the right way around, if you know what I mean. So there we go, that's the word. And then, oh, just got to be careful that doesn't happen. Okay, make sure it's all lined up and even. Okay, so we're getting there. I've got quite a few, I've done a few patterns on here, and one other thing I was going to say is if you don't have these letters, it's fine. You can always use a pin or a nice clean sharp object with a point, and you can just make marks in your clay. So I'm just going to use one of my pins here, and I'm just going to make this into a leaf. So I'm going to draw like a nice, do a few flicks outwards like that. and then we can smooth the edges out when we go to when it's all dried up. So there's my little leaf print, but see, you can do that with other things as well. Okay, so there's my 2 leaves. On my flower I might do using a point, and then in the edge I can just go around and make tiny indents to make it look like petals. My raindrop I'm going to leave as it is. The circle, perhaps we can do like a little star. And then you just be careful, because the clay does need to move when you're pushing down into it. So you'll sort of need to reinforce your shape over and over again, but making sure you don't move the clay around too much. So you can see there I've got my little star shape there. Okay, so we've done that now, and what I'm going to do is actually leave them in the sunshine for a couple of days, somewhere where they can dry without being disturbed. You know, you don't want anyone to knock them over or whatever. So just put them somewhere safe and leave them. There's a difference in colour when they dry, and here's a few that I made previously. Like for example, if you look at, I don't know if you can see the colour change, and there's a slight shrinkage in size as well. So just bear that in mind. These are now ready to paint, but you know, there is a colour difference. You can see from this star as well, you know, that it's slightly lighter, so you'll notice that, and you will see that they do feel dry to the touch when all dried. Obviously the water's evaporated, so you will be able to clearly tell that they're ready for painting. And I shall see you in a couple of days. Okay, so these have been left for 2 days, and they've dried all the way through. You can see that they're a lot lighter and slightly shrunk due to the evaporation of water. They are a bit rough around the edges, so they are going to need a sand down. We're going to need some fine little filers. You can get some sandpaper and just use a small block, or you could use even use an old nail file, because that works wonders, and I've done that in the past. And I would suggest just getting some wipes or a wet cloth just to wipe down everything once you've finished sanding. So that's what we're going to do now, is just go around all the edges and just sand it down to get a nice smooth finish. And you can see the parts that are a little bit bulgy, so perhaps use a thicker one for the slightly bulgier parts, just to get that nice and smooth. So you can see already that's making a difference. We're just going to give it a nice little smooth around, like so. There's a finer one just to go over the top. After filing, just give everything a wipe down so it's all clean and ready for your decorations. Okay, so now we finally reached the stage of actually decorating our little clay tags. And what we'll need for decorating is obviously some paints and paintbrushes. We've got the paintbrushes, a little place to mix your paint, some water to wash your brushes. I've got some metallic pens. You never know, you might want to go metallic, so that's just maybe to go over the wording. I've also got some good old Sharpie pens in different colours. So that's the painting and decorating side, and then we've also got different types of strings to hang the items. So you could go, you know, if it's that time of year, you could go for this sort of twine, which is quite pretty, and it can look really lovely if you're making an ornament. Or you could go for some sort of metallic thread, which might look quite nice. It doesn't have to be metallic. I mean, you can go for a matte colour if you wanted to, or a bit more traditional if you want simplicity. There's some twine, you could perhaps use that. Something completely different would be if you want it invisible. Now, I don't know if you can see, that's quite fine, but this thread is great if you don't want to see the actual part that hangs, so that's quite handy for that. And the final option which I've found is ribbons. I mean, there's some lovely thin ribbons you can get, and you can get some nice thick silky ribbon as well. That would look quite nice through some of the bigger tags, and even lace. So, you know, look at the lovely sort of shimmer on the end of that one. That's very pretty. This lace would look nice, like for example with this mum tag, it could go through if you're making something for mum. That would be quite nice as well. So just a few ideas, but of course, you know, I'm sure you'll come up with some even better ideas. You can always put them in the comments below and let me know if you've come up with anything different. Time to start painting. I think I'm going to start with I'll start with Hope. I'm going to go with nice yellow. I'll add a bit of white just to mix with it. My pen's out blank. Okay, so it's quite a nice yellow, I think. Just a touch of white in there, not too much. Just want to lighten it slightly. That's quite nice, just nice bright yellow. Bit of sunshine. And then we're just going to gently start. Oh, that's lovely. Look at that. Beautiful, bright yellow. That's right up my street, that. Okay. And it's up to you however you decorate. There's so many different ways you can decorate. You can even use printing and stamping, and you can really go to town with, you know, the different colours and styles. So just enjoy the process. I think this is quite therapeutic, really. I just want to go all the way around the outside. I mean, I like the fact that I haven't coloured in the lines, but I think because I've started with the E, I might as well go around it, and I can always use a pen to go over the lettering once it's dry. Don't forget to go in the little tag bit. So it's up to you if you want to do the reverse, but you want to get your first coat on anyway with a good strong colour, so don't worry about the back just yet. It's nice, isn't it? Nice and bright. I think with it being Hope as well, it's nice that it's nice and bright. And this one a sort of a denim-y look, a bit faded around the sides. And just dabbing it very gently. It's just giving it that sort of almost worn look. Just tap it with my finger to get that sort of texturised look. You can use a tissue or something as well, but I'm quite happy using my fingers. There we go. They're all painted. I'm waiting for them to dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my nice colourful bright pens and I'm just going to add a few details. I'm thinking with this one, I'm going to use a fine tip pen because I don't want it to come out of the lines, and then I'm just going to gently try and mimic. And it's not going to come out perfectly the same as the pattern, but as much as possible. So it will look a little rustic, but that's okay. I don't actually mind that. Quite like that sort of rusticy look to it. So you'd probably need an even finer tip than this to get right into the details, but that's okay. Like I say, no one's expecting perfection because that's the whole joy of just getting stuck in and just doing it. If we wait until we're perfect at things, we'll be waiting a while, I think. So when it comes to this kind of art or whatever, it's best to just go for it and have a go. I'm going to slightly straighten that up. It's quite rustic, but that's okay. It kind of looks quite quirky like that. With love, I think I might. There we go, so that's that one. Please. The pattern maybe on the hope. Maybe let's go a little bit quirky. Shall we do, let's do leopard print on this one. So I'm going to do funny little blobs like that, here and there. There we go, maybe a small one there. And then we will need a black pen. Just to add a bit of definition. There we go, and I'm actually going to outline the hoop. A bit tricky, but it's not too bad. Get right in as much as possible. Probably better to find some sort of pen that will do this For future reference, I'll keep looking. There we go. Hope. What we need to do next is glaze them. Now, either you can use what sometimes I use is clear nail varnish just to coat them, gives them a nice shine and just protects the paintwork. Or if you want to invest in something, this is a UV resin. It's already mixed and you can use it under a UV lamp if you do your own gels like I do sometimes. Nail gels I'm talking about. So if you do, then you can use one of these and you can put it under your nail lamp, and it dries very quick. So that's the second option if you want to invest in something. You can get the ones where you mix the two parts together. I think there's a hardener and the actual resin, and then you combine the two, and it creates a similar product to this, but I didn't want to faff around with mixing things, so that's why I went with this one. So I'll do both types and then you can see the difference between them. I'll start with some of the smaller ones, like this one here. And I'm just going to do nail varnish. And I'm just going to, as you can see, it's actually quite a nice base, sort of. It's actually got a nice sheen to it. And it coats the project quite nicely, so I'm not going to touch it, I'm just going to gently coat it. Let's take your time on this because you want a nice even coat. Talking of nails, I need to do mine, so please do excuse my gel on my nails. It's not looking at its best, I'm not going to deny. Okay, I have noticed that that's actually made the colour of the gold paint blur a little bit. So first time I've used it with the gold paint, so I wouldn't, if you're going to use it on one with a pattern, I wouldn't do that actually. So that's definitely a no for that one. But on normal painted items like this one here, it's not a problem. You can put it straight on. So yeah, it's slightly annoying about that one, but I wasn't aware that it would actually affect the file tips. So I guess if you're going to do this, I think definitely do a test patch before, or if you can make more than one of the item, just to ensure that you don't damage the paintwork once you're sort of glazing it with this. Now obviously we're going to have to let it dry before we flip it over. I have used it in the past, it hasn't come out bad to be honest. And the good thing with this is it does dry quite quick, it doesn't take forever to be honest, so that's the good thing. It just adds a nice gloss, doesn't it? Let's get the white part done first, just so I don't stain it. I've just used a cheap one because you can see the brush is getting a little bit stained with the paint. So please don't use your best. Just keep a spare one just for your crafty stuff like this. Oh. Yeah, see, fortunately, oh that's a shame, isn't it? So definitely don't use this stuff on white because now that's left a smudge on my one there. I did want to see if colours run, and I can see that the red has run there as well as the pen, so that's not a problem because that was a spare anyway. I'll continue making it just so you can see. So there are pros and cons of using that, the nail varnish, so just bear that in mind. So with the UV, I mean you can just leave them as they are, they're quite nice just matte like that, but again it is down to what you're using it for really. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the UV, so let's just move these ones out of the way so you know which ones are which. Ooh. And with the UV resin, you will definitely have to leave it longer if you're not going to use a UV lamp. You're going to probably have to leave it for a couple of days to harden, and leave it in the light somewhere. So that's definitely something to bear in mind if you need it for a certain occasion. It's coming out lovely and shiny, that. You will probably need a paintbrush for this because you want a nice even coat, but you need to spread it, so I'm just going to blob it on first. It's nice and thick so you can see the difference. I don't want it too thin. This one a little bit thicker. Just because I want to show you the difference between how they look. Sit nicely. Okay, so that's that one. So you can see how shiny and lovely that is. And it hasn't smudged the silver pen, which I really like. So that's that one. It's lovely. I love that. Okay, I will glaze Hope. Okay, so nice coating of it on here. Just want to give it a good amount. Good old Amazon's always great to buy stuff like this. But you can see the difference, can't you? I mean, that's the one with the nail varnish, and this one here is with the UV gel. It's not cheap, but it's worth it because you're going to get a good finish on your product, you know, after lots of practice. You'll be making nice little tags in no time. And they're nice for gifts and that kind of thing. So once it's dry, you can then do the reverse because you don't want to be doing that while it's still wet. But you can really see the difference of how it starts to look. And I'm actually really happy with them. I think they're great. Okay, so they need to be left alone now. And especially these ones, they're going to need to be left for a couple of days. And here they are on my notice board, all dried, and I've put ribbons on some of them. I've attached some of them together. They look lovely, so have fun, enjoy the process, and please like and subscribe my videos so that I'm able to make more for you. If there's anything that you would like to see, please do feel free to leave some messages in the comments. Until next time, happy crafting!